Welcome back. We are now joined by Active Biotech and CEO Helén Tuvesson. A warm welcome, Helén. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. And I'm happy to be here to present Active Biotech today for you, even if I'm virtually participating directly from Lund. Next slide, please. So I will start with a short overview of the company, where we are today with everything, and then continue with full focus on our clinical project portfolio and finish off with looking ahead on what we have on the horizon to report on in the clinical projects. Next slide, please. So Active Biotech framed a new direction during last year, and it was a result of a thorough investigation of our clinical assets, tasquinimod and laquinimod, and we now have ongoing projects within specialist indications in oncology and inflammation. And these are indications with high medical need, indications with a substantial commercial opportunity. We have 2 clinical programs ongoing, and we have a third to start towards late this year. And looking ahead, we have multiple clinical milestones to report on the upcoming 12 months. We have an updated international board with specialist competence within the areas that we are now targeting. Active Biotech is listed on the Swedish stock market. We completed a rights issue earlier this year, and proceeds will finance the company through 2022 according to current plan. Next slide, please. We developed new immunomodulatory treatments to treat cancer and inflammation. And we have 2 different concepts. We use small molecules that modulates the myeloid cell compartment. Tasquinimod, which we developed for multiple myeloma, target immune suppressive cells in the tumor microenvironment and restore the anti-tumor immunity, leading to tumor cell killing. Tasquinimod also decreases formation of new blood vessels, which inhibits the flow of nutrition and oxygen to the tumor, also leading to tumor cell killing. Laquinimod is another small molecule immunomodulator, and laquinimod targets another type of immune cell, antigen-presenting cells, and skew them from a pro-inflammatory type into an anti-inflammatory phenotype, leading to immune tolerance and an anti-inflammatory effect. Laquinimod is developed for uveitis, inflammatory non-anterior uveitis. Then we have antibody-based immune therapy, and naptumomab, or to be correct, naptumomab estafenatox, is a tumor-targeting superantigen, is a biological molecule with 2 parts. The first part is an antigen or a Fab fragment from an antibody targeting a tumor antigen, 5T4, expressed on most solid tumors. And this is fused to a superantigen, bacteria-derived superantigen, that expands and activates certain sets of T cells and redirect them to the tumor site and initiate tumor cell killing. Next slide, please. We have 2, thank you. So we have 2 clinical programs ongoing within cancer. Naptumomab is our most mature project, and this project is developed in partnership with Neotex Therapeutics. There is a combination trial ongoing with naptumomab and AstraZeneca's checkpoint inhibitor, durvalumab. And this trial is ongoing under an agreement between Neotex and AstraZeneca. Then there is another combination strategy to be tested, and that's naptumomab in combination with chemotherapy, docetaxel. This trial will be done in all non-small cell lung cancer. In the tasquinimod project, which we developed for multiple myeloma, there is a trial ongoing in relapsed refractory patients. This trial is ongoing in the US. In inflammation, we have laquinimod, which we developed for inflammatory non-infectious uveitis. And the project is right now in preclinical stage, but we will start clinical development towards end of this year. Next slide, please. So we signed a licensing agreement with Neotex in 2016. And under the agreement, Neotex have the global rights to develop and commercialize naptumomab for cancer indications. And there is a substantial market opportunity within immuno-oncology, which is reflected by the annual sales of checkpoint inhibitors exceeding $26 billion in 2020. And naptumomab is protected by patents up to 2036. Next slide, please. The ongoing clinical combination trial recruits patients that are heavily pretreated with selected solid tumors that are in advanced or metastatic stage. That means, for instance, renal cell carcinoma, lung cancer, and ovarian cancer, colorectal cancer, and pancreatic cancer. The first portion of this trial aims to define the safety of the combination. And once the safety is defined, the trial will continue into expansion cohort studies based on results obtained in the study. And we expect to report on the first results from the safety portion of the trial the first half of next year. Next slide, please. There is another combination strategy to start with naptumomab, and this time it's in combination with chemotherapy, the standard chemotherapy, docetaxel. The first study will be performed in patients with non-small cell lung cancer. And this trial will recruit patients that are pretreated, advanced or metastatic non-small cell lung cancer, and the combination will be naptumomab, docetaxel, and there will be a pretreatment with obinutuzumab, which is a B-cell therapy, and it's used to decrease antibodies against naptumomab. The primary endpoint in this study is objective response rate according to standard RECIST criteria, and secondary readouts include response duration, disease control, and survival endpoints. The IND for this trial was very recently approved by the FDA, and we expect the start of this study to be during Q4 this year. Next slide, please. So let's go over to tasquinimod then. And tasquinimod is in development for multiple myeloma. We developed tasquinimod as a new product class for this disease. We have a lot of safety, preclinical and clinical safety already established from previous development in solid tumors with tasquinimod. And we have a regulatory full package of preclinical and clinical safety. We have full commercial scale CMC documentation available. And tasquinimod is protected by patents to at least 2035. And we also have an orphan drug designation granted for multiple myeloma in the US. Next slide, please. Multiple myeloma is an incurable blood cancer which develops in the bone marrow, and survival has increased in this deadly disease lately due to a lot of new treatments coming on into the market. However, relapse occurs once resistance to drug treatment develops, and after a number of lines, there is only very few treatment options left. And there is a remaining high medical need for something new, something that is very different from what's already on the market. We know cross-resistant to current treatments. Next slide, please. We developed tasquinimod as a novel treatment, novel product class for multiple myeloma. And we started a clinical trial last year in Philadelphia at Abramson Cancer Center in Philadelphia. And this trial is performed in two parts. The first part assess monotherapy of activity and safety of tasquinimod. And the second part assess a combination with tasquinimod and an oral standard regimen. Primary endpoint in both parts are safety and tolerability, and the key secondary endpoint is clinical effects by overall response rate. The principal investigator in this trial is Dr. Dan Fogel in Philadelphia. The current status of the trial is that we reported the first safety results from the single agent part of the trial early this week, and I will come back to that in the next slide. And the next step of the trial is the combination part, and we will go directly from the concluded safety from the first part into the combination, which is a combination of tasquinimod and ixazomib, a proteasome inhibitor, lenalidomide, and dexamethasone. We expect this new trial of the study to start during Q4 this year. Next slide, please. So we reviewed the safety data of the first single agent part of tasquinimod and reported on that this Sunday, last Sunday. And this part of the trial recruited 10 patients, heavily pretreated, with a median of 8 prior lines of therapy. And the majority of the patients were triple-class refractory to IMiDs, proteasome inhibitors, and anti-CD38 monoclonal antibodies. These were very late-stage clinical patients, refractory to most that is active for this kind of disease. The primary endpoint in the study was optimal dose and treatment schedule of tasquinimod, and it was defined to 1 milligram per day after a short run-in of 0.5 milligram tasquinimod daily for a week. And this is a similar treatment schedule as used in solid tumors. The target dose is the same, but the run-in is faster compared to the solid tumor patients, and that is of importance since the multiple myeloma patients is rapidly progressing, and we want to reach the target dose as quickly as possible. Tasquinimod was generally well tolerated in the study, and the safety profile was confirmed from previous studies with tasquinimod, meaning that we had mostly grade 1 and 2 gastrointestinal disorders, some fatigue, and some musculoskeletal pains. Key secondary endpoint was preliminary anti-myeloma activity, and there were 2 patients that achieved significant periods of stable disease, suggesting an anti-myeloma activity of tasquinimod in these very late-stage patients, but there were no formal response achieved. The next step will be the combination part. Next slide, please. Multiple myeloma is a huge market. It's a market driven by novel treatments and an elderly population. We estimate the commercial potential right now for tasquinimod to be more than $1 billion per year. Next slide, please. So let's go over to laquinimod, which we developed for inflammatory eye disorders. We have a huge safety package and regulatory package for laquinimod, and CMC documentation as well. And laquinimod is protected by patents up to 2033, and there is an opportunity for an orphan drug designation in uveitis. Next slide, please. Non-anterior uveitis, non-infectious uveitis, is a serious eye disorder. It's actually the 3rd leading case of blindness in the Western world. It's an inflammation in parts of the back part of the eye, and the symptoms include eye pain, ocular redness, tearing, decreased vision, and in worst case, blindness. This disease sometimes have an underlying systemic disease like MS, like Crohn's disease. The main treatment in first line is oral corticosteroids or intravitreal or injections around the eye. There is a high medical need for a new therapy to improve efficacy and limit the first-line steroid treatment failures, which is about 40% of patients fail on steroid treatments. And high-dose long-term steroid treatment is associated with a lot of side effects. Next slide, please. We have developed a new formulation of laquinimod, an eye drop formulation, and we will start clinical development with testing this newly developed formulation in healthy subjects. And this will be a pure safety and tolerability study. Eye tolerability, eye toxicity will be assessed. We will test both single and multiple doses of the eye drop formulation. And study preparations are ongoing right now, and we expect to start this trial towards late this year. In parallel, we are preparing for a phase 2 trial of laquinimod, both in oral formulation and the eye drop formulation, and this study is planned to start in the beginning of 2023. Next slide, please. Uveitis is a smaller market compared to multiple myeloma, but there is a significant orphan opportunity for a drug which can replace corticosteroid, for instance. And we estimate the commercial potential now in a very early stage to be more than $0.5 billion per year. There is a major unmet medical need in this disease, and there is also less activity in the market, not so many new drugs coming along. Next slide, please. So we have 2 clinical programs ongoing in naptumomab and in tasquinimod, and we are about to start a 3rd program late this year. And looking ahead, there will be several clinical milestones in all of our projects the coming 12 months. We will have readout of safety in the combination with durvalumab in naptumomab. We will have start of cohort studies, and there will be start of a new combination with docetaxel. For tasquinimod in multiple myeloma, we already had the readout of safety for the monotherapy part, but we will start the combination part towards late this year. And for laquinimod, we are starting the clinical development late this year as well. That was my last slide, and thank you so much for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Helén, for a very interesting presentation. Not least the final slide that shows us a very frequent news flow that is coming in the 12 coming months. So that's very exciting. We're looking forward to following that. Could you perhaps elaborate a bit on the first results from your study with tasquinimod and how the recent results have affected your strategy or plans going forward?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I'm very happy that we could conclude on these results in a timely manner, and we have shown that tasquinimod is very well tolerated in this late stage fragile patient population. And that's it's also important that it's a similar safety profile as we have before, which means that we can rely on data we already have in a huge safety database for the project. Then we saw some signs of clinical activity in this small study with very late stage, heavily pretreated refractory patients. And that is also actually very encouraging for the project. We decided to go directly to the combination part of the trial, and that is based on the very good safety profile of tasquinimod. It's based on the mode of action targeting the immune function in these patients, and also a lot of preclinical data supporting a combination effect with tasquinimod and standard therapy. And I think the place for tasquinimod in multiple myeloma will be in combination with other treatments.
Thank you. And the FDA announcement of IND approval concerning naptumomab is a milestone in the clinical study. Can you expand on the significance of this opinion?
I mean, first and foremost is a regulatory validation of the program with naptumomab in this study in non-small cell lung cancer. Then, of course, it also means that the project will expand into a new combination strategy, and the project will also expand into new territories. That study will be performed in US. So that's also important, of course.
Okay, and one final question then. During the summer, your partner NeoTX hosted an event with a discussion focused on overcoming checkpoint inhibitor resistance, and preclinical data concerning naptumomab shows positive results in that area. What will this enable going forward?
I mean, so preclinical data with naptumomab and checkpoint inhibition, chemotherapy, as well as CAR T-cell treatment show synergy when dosed together with naptumomab. And this enables a lot for naptumomab. All three modalities could be used in the combination trials going forward with naptumomab, and it opens up a window of opportunity to be dosed together with naptumomab in a lot of solid tumor indications.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Helén, for joining us here today and presenting, and we will look forward to following your news flow in the coming year. Good luck on your journey.
Thank you so much.